At South Texas Health System, the health of you and your family has always been our top priority. It inspires us to be among the nation's healthcare leaders. We're proud to be home to the Valley's first and only freestanding children's hospital, the state's first dedicated heart hospital, the first behavioral health facility with private inpatient treatment, and Hidalgo County's first level 2 trauma center. And we continue to transform healthcare, investing in advanced technologies and innovations to help you heal faster. It's that commitment to your health that has allowed South Texas Health System to build a reputation for excellence across 11 facilities, earning recognition for patient safety, cardiac care, robotic surgery, women's health, stroke care, and more. With our integrated network of nationally recognized facilities, freestanding emergency departments, physician practices, and outpatient centers, we are where you are, providing compassionate care and comprehensive services for you and your family. Greetings and welcome to our latest Let's Talk Your Health webinar. I'm Tom Castañeda, the System Director of Marketing and Public Relations for South Texas Health System. On behalf of STHS, thank you for joining us. Now, it's no secret to live life to the fullest, you must take good care of yourself. So to help you get healthy and stay healthy, South Texas Health System launched these monthly Let's Talk Your Health webinars. By providing important education on common health conditions and highlighting ways to prevent, manage, and delay them, we hope more people will be prepared to focus on improving their overall health and well-being. In this installment, we'll be discussing UV safety. Whether you're spending time at the beach, walking your dog, working outdoors, or even sitting by a sunny window, prolonged or excessive exposure to ultraviolet radiation, primarily from the sun, can lead to various health problems. In the U.S., skin cancer is a major public health concern, with 1 in 5 Americans developing it during their lifetime per the CDC. But sun damage extends far beyond skin cancer. It includes premature aging, eye damage, and immune suppression. The good news is that there are several ways to stay protected from harmful UV radiation and prevent long-term skin damage. So to learn more about UV safety, we're joined by Dr. Olympia Sagalongos-Berry, an internal medicine resident with the STHS GME Consortium. Dr. Berry, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now let's talk a little bit about the numbers when it comes to basically sunburns, which is one of the most common things we see with UV issues. So more than a third of U.S. adults experience at least one sunburn each year. Have you had yours yet?
Oh, for sure, yeah, especially in the Texas sun.
Yeah, I've had at least one this year so far. Now they account for about 33,000 ER visits annually, with younger people and those with fair skin are more susceptible to sunburns. You come from the Philippines, and I lived in the Philippines for a few years, and you guys really do make a huge effort to protect yourself. What is the difference, do you think, culturally between the Philippines and the United States when it comes to protecting yourself from the sun?
Mainly because we are more conscious of skin cancer in the Philippines, because we're taught at an early age that, you know, the sun, since we are near the equator, we are taught in the education system that it can cause skin cancer. That's why we were brought up to like have those large brim hats and to protect ourselves from the sun.
I've seen even carrying around the umbrella and using the umbrella when you're out and about, just walking, grocery shopping or whatever it may be, and you're walking from one block to the next with the umbrella out. So it really is important. When it comes to the Valley here, you've been a resident now you're in your second year. Have you noticed basically people not taking the sun as seriously as they should?
I do notice that, because, you know, most Americans love the sun a lot, and they are not that mindful that the harmful effects of the sun that it can cause, you know, the UV radiation can cause skin cancer.
And obviously we hear about the sunburns, but I think the people will appreciate knowing that it also causes premature aging. And we talk about, we definitely have all of these products out on the market to make us look as young as possible, but being cognizant of how much time you spend in the sun is really important if you don't want to age and you want to age gracefully.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
Yeah, now you have a great presentation for us. You've basically put together some really great education, so let's get started.
For sure, thank you. So, good afternoon. Again, my name is Dr. Olympia Sagalongos-Berry. So while ultraviolet rays have beneficial effects, since it's our free source of vitamin D, which helps us with making our bones strong and helps our mood and also in our immune system, excessive exposure to UV radiation can be deleterious, which can cause, of course, premature aging, wrinkling and sagging of the skin, and weakening of also of our immune system. The thing is, whether food, drink, or the sunlight, when it's not in moderation and if it's too much, it's not healthy or safe. So skin cancer is a major public health concern in our country. It accounts for about 5 million cases each year, mostly from overexposure to UV light. Ultraviolet rays can cause about 9 out of 10 skin cancers, and men mostly can get skin cancers twice as much as women. Fortunately, skin cancer is not life-threatening at all, especially when it's diagnosed early, and most skin cancers are preventable. So over here, we have a picture of the Fitzpatrick scale and skin types. When we talk about skin cancer, we have to discuss about the spectrum of skin color. So on the lighter side of the spectrum, it ranges from light skin type, from 1 to 3. These are the highest risk. These have the highest risk for skin cancer because this spectrum of skin types they always burn, but they rarely tan. So from the scale of 3 to 4 to 5 are the ones that have medium risk, and from scale of 4, 5, and 6, they have the lowest risk, and since they have more melanin, which can provide natural protection. Dark skin, though, can get skin cancer. Mind you, the risk is not zero. Darker skin patients more likely to be diagnosed at a later stage because it's more difficult to treat them. So prevention and early detection is always important. Now we go to the UV light. So this picture illustrates to us the different types of UV light. It also enumerates the effects on our skin and its layers. So UVC has the shortest wavelength. It doesn't reach our skin because it doesn't reach the earth. It is harmless unless you are in the space. UVB, on the other hand, it affects the top layer of our skin and makes our skin red, and it can burn and make you tan. So UVB can cause skin cancer. UVA, on the other hand, has the longest wavelength. Hence, it can not only penetrate the skin surface, but it can also penetrate the epidermis and also the deepest layer of our skin, which is the dermis. And thus, it can promote aging, sagging, and DNA damage, which can lead to skin cancer. So, the risk of skin cancer also largely related to how much UV you are exposed to each day. So it is advisable to check the EPA's UV index. It will give you like a precaution because the UV index is the measure of UV intensity. So UV is more or strongest or more intense in the middle of the day, especially at 10 o'clock in the morning. Especially during the hours around noon when the sun is directly overhead. Sometimes it can also be high from late morning to late afternoon. That is the reason why sun protection is important between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. every day. So again, you should check the UV index every day and take precautions, especially when the UV index is like about 3 or higher. So you should protect your skin between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. of each day. So what are the factors that can increase UV light radiation? UV is especially stronger from spring to autumn, and UV radiation is higher in the southern states than the northern states because we are closer to the equator. UV is more intense at higher elevation, and it's easy to get a sunburn in the mountains, even in the winter time. Clouds aren't a reliable sunblock. They can only screen about 20 to 40% of the UV radiation. So what are the tools that we can use so we can have safety when we go to the sun? Clothing is one of the most important, powerful tools that you can use to protect yourself from the sun. So some clothing can block around 100% of the harmful UV rays, and some sunscreen cannot do that. Plus, unlike sunscreen, clothing does not wash off, wear off, or sweat off, and does not have to be reapplied, and it lasts long as you are wearing it. Wear clothes that cover most of your skin. Wear hats with a wide brim or back flap when you can, because it can protect your ears as well as the back of your neck, or use a bandana around your neck for added protection. Choose clothing that keeps you cool and weeks sweat off. Another one is that shade is another tool that you can use to protect yourself from UV. Use shade canopies or on heavy equipment and take breaks in the shade. Look for shade around, such as trees or vehicles, and bring shade with you when you can, such as umbrellas or pop-ups. Wear shades on your eyes. Sunglasses blocks around 99 to 100% of UV rays. Sunscreen. So, now we go to the sunscreen. Not only in the summer, but every day we should be applying sunscreen. It should be a habit. And because the thing that is not covered by clothing should be protected by sunscreen. And we must apply the sunscreen 30 minutes before we go out in the sun. Apply a thick coat in the morning, and then reapply it at once during the middle of the day to ensure that you are protected. You can also use water-resistant sunscreen if you're sweating or get wet on the job. Again, make sunscreen application your daily habit. So, now we go to the sun protector factor, or SPF. This tells you how strong the protection is and how long it will last. SPF is specifically saying the higher it is, the more protection and the longer it will last. Sunscreen should be at least SPF 15 or SPF 30. It's better and longer at work, and SPF 50 is much better, but not SPF 100 is not really necessary. So no sunscreen provides 100% protection. So there are two types of sunscreen. One is that a chemical, UV absorbers, and the one which are physical UV reflectors. So if you don't want to put chemicals on your skin, choose the sunscreen with titanium or zinc oxide. So with skin cancer, prevention is always the key to good skin and good health. Aside from applying sunscreen every day, you make sure that you schedule yourself for yearly skin check with your doctor. 95% of skin cancer can be treated successfully if and when detected early. So it is advisable that we go to have an appointment with our dermatologist each year so that we can have a yearly check of our skin from top to bottom. So examine your skin. Because cancer can show up anywhere, not only on the sun-exposed areas, but also everywhere, in your hand, the back of your neck, or your back. So if you have a full-length mirror in the house, you can do that. You can have a self-check so that when you see something, you can go to your doctor and have it checked and have it biopsied. So if you feel like a mole looks different and funny, you have to have it checked and see a doctor, especially when a mole is exhibiting or showing signs of this ABCD of cancer. Look for changes in the moles. The most serious type of skin cancer is melanoma, and it often develops from a normal mole. So the American Academy of Dermatology's ABCDE rule of skin cancer describe what kind of changes to look for in a mole. So A is for asymmetry. One half is unlike the other. B is for border. That means the edges are rugged, irregular, or poorly defined. C is for color. When you see variegation or changes in the color of the mole, from brown to red to dark, then that is alarming. So that is the time you have to have yourself scheduled for a checkup from your dermatologist or even your primary care. D is for diameter. If the area, you think that the area or the size of the mole is getting bigger or growing, then that's also a concern. E is when the mole is evolving. If you see any changes in the mole, a new mole, or any other unusual changes in your skin, have an appointment with your doctor for it to be seen and examined. So like what I said before, skin cancer is preventable. We just have to be mindful of the changes that is on our in any mole or in our body, and we just have to have a scheduled appointment with our doctor. So there are 3 types of skin cancer. The most common one is what we call basal cell carcinoma. It's mostly located on the nose. Of all the skin cancer, this is the most benign and it rarely spread. But of course, if left untreated, it can grow larger, invade deeper tissues, and cause disfigurement. So squamous cell carcinoma is the second most common cause of cancer. And again, when detected and treated early, the 5-year survival rate is about 95%. Like basal cell carcinoma, it is curable when treated with most micrographic surgery. So most micrographic surgery is the type of surgery that we usually use to treat skin cancer. It's a very tedious surgery in the sense that you are excising bit by bit until you know that there are negative margins or there's no more cancer cell in that particular mole. And then when you know that there's no more cancer cell because we see it under the microscope, then it's time for that surgeon to close the skin. The most dangerous type of skin cancer is melanoma because it can spread to the lymph node or to other parts of the body like the brain or the adrenals. Again, early detection is the key. Yearly skin check is always advisable, and it's usually when you see it early, you can have successful treatment and better outcome. Surgery with melanoma doesn't involve most surgery, but involves a wide margin of resection because it's almost impossible to make sure that the skin is free of cancer. So that's it. That's all for me for today, and thank you for your time, for inviting me to talk about UV safety and skin cancer.
Thank you, Dr. Barry. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the information that you shared with us today.
Sure.
Now, we always hear that when it's a cloudy day, people tend to forget that the sun is still powerful and that 80% of the sun's rays can pass through clouds and fog. So it really is important to just always be using sunscreen, right?
Oh, for sure. It should be a habit every day, whether you're fair skin, light skin, or dark skin. You should be wearing sunscreen every day, and you have to apply it 30 minutes before you go out of the house.
That 30 minutes is really important because you get to the beach and people start putting it on, but you've already been exposed to the sun. So making sure 30 minutes before you leave, you're inside, you generously apply it, and then you head outside. Why is it so important to drink more water when we're going to be outside in the sun?
Yeah, well, water gives you hydration, and hydration protects or gives you moisture from your skin. And also it gives you a little bit of protection from the UV light because of all, you know, the reflection. Now,
when we talk about the reflection, sand and water can reflect about 25% of the UV rays. So it's also important to make sure that if you're going to be outside, you're going to be in the water, you're going to be on the beach, it's especially dangerous because of that reflection, right?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
Yeah. So what advice do you have when it comes to seeking shade? We hear seek shade, go take a break. How often should we be taking breaks from the sun? What would you recommend?
I recommend, not too much exposure to the sun because of course it can cause sunburn, and you don't want it to be like to get worse, and it can cause blisters or second-degree burn. So you can go to the sun like intermittently, like 30 minutes to an hour, and then you can go to the shade, or you can protect yourself with clothing. that can reflect those UV lights.
Now, when you need to be careful in terms of being most careful being outside, so you mentioned from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. is sort of that window where you should be extra cautious when you're out in the sun, because the sun is at its peak.
Yeah, the UV index is so high. It's like they numbered it from 1 to 5. So the UV index at 10 to 4 o'clock is around 3 to 4.
Okay.
So you have to be mindful that the ray of the UV lights are so intense that you have to protect yourself, and you have to have the sunscreen, as we talked about, and you have to protect yourself by going to the shade or having the proper clothing or protection.
Now here is something that I read, and I want to make sure that this is correct. So when you're out at the beach, I will always wear a shirt, but a wet shirt versus a dry shirt, I understand that a wet shirt is actually a little bit more dangerous because it sort of becomes transparent. Is that right? And therefore the UV rays can penetrate a little bit more? Have you heard that?
I'm not sure about that, but I can read about that and talk to you about it later.
Yes, but I saw that on the website for the Skin Cancer Foundation, and they were talking about how a wet shirt, you got to be careful when it's wet, so because it tends to become transparent. Wet fabrics are more transparent to the UV rays. So I thought that was pretty interesting, because I know I have my shirt on, but you should try to change into a dry shirt just to be safe. Now that UV index is really easy to find. I mean, all you have to do is visit the weather.com website.
Yes,
it's issued by the National Weather Service and the EPA. And again, it has those ranges. So low is a green, moderate is yellow, high and very high are sort of red, and extreme is that blue. So if you see that red and that blue, you really need to think twice before going outside, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Now, who is most susceptible to sunburn? I know fairer skin, but when we talk about seniors, we talk about children. Should we be worried about our kids taking them out, or our grandparents who may be spending time with us?
Yeah, that's correct, in the sense that most old people have they have more sensitive skin, and also children have more they have larger surface area, that they're more susceptible to sun damage.
Okay. And then when we're talking about the strength of the UV rays, we talked about the time. The time of day is really important. Other things that you have to consider is obviously the season of the year. So summer being at the peak, it's the hottest season. That's a thing. The distance from the equator. So unfortunately in the Rio Grande Valley, we are fairly close to the equator. So for us year round, that risk of sun damage is there.
Yeah.
And then there's also the altitude. So if we were in a mountainous area, we are a valley, even though there are no mountains around us. So we are a little bit safer, but we're still close to the equator, so you have to be careful. There's also cloud cover, so obviously, but taking note that even if it is cloudy, you can still get a sunburn. And then the reflection off of surfaces. So as we talked about, the sand and the water are, even if you're in your swimming pool or at the beach, wherever you may be, at a lake fishing, whatever it is, there is that risk of those UV rays being a little stronger.
Yes, that's correct.
Now, do windows provide any protection from UV rays?
Actually, windows do. It can protect you for like 20 to 40%. As a matter of fact, if you are in a car, they said that in the U.S. most of the skin cancer occurs for drivers. It occurs usually on the left side.
Okay.
Especially when their windows are down, because windows, they said that it can protect 20% from the UV rays.
Okay, so keep your window rolled up if you can, because that'll help give a little bit of protection. I know that I have been on long road trips from San Antonio to the valley and back and forth, and I know my arm has felt like it's burning on one side, depending on when you're coming or going. You have to be really careful, so just be mindful of that. They have those shades that you can use. You can always put a little cover of some sort, and tinted windows do offer a little bit more protection. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Now, does getting a tan or having darker skin protect you from UV rays? So if you're darker,
Well, the darker skin you have, like what we have in the Fitzpatrick scale, the darker skin you have, the more melanin you have. The melanin protects us from the UV rays, but it doesn't necessarily follow that you are free of skin cancer. So even if you have dark skin, you still have to protect yourself from the UV rays, and it's still mandatory that you apply sunscreen.
And I will tell you, as a 4 on the scale, I think I'm a 4. I'm definitely close to a 3 or a 4, but I'm closer to a 4, being a little bit darker. I have had severe sunburns in my day, so you can most certainly, even if you are darker, get a sunburn. No matter what you may think or any pop culture or reference you may have, you will burn if you don't protect your skin.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Now, how much sunscreen should we be using? When they say a generous amount, what is that?
Like a fourth of a thickness.
Okay, so
apply.
a good layer.
A good layer, yeah.
And then, is there a difference between using the spray tan? You know how they have this now? They have the suntan lotion with spray, and then they have the cream. So, is it better to use a cream?
For me personally, it's better to use the cream than the spray tan, because for the spray tan, you know, sometimes it doesn't penetrate as much, but the cream, you know that you're applying it generously, and you know that it will be absorbed and will really protect you.
And when we talk about the SPFs, obviously sun protection factor, a 15 is supposed to filter about 93% of UVB rays. An SPF 30 filters out about 97%. 50 filters out about 98%, and an SPF 100 filters about 99%. So the higher the number, especially if you're going to be outdoors longer, you may want to make sure that you use a 50, a 30, a 50, or
at least a 30.
At least a 30, but I prefer the 50 on my face when I know I'm going to be spending a lot of time outside. I don't want those wrinkles anytime soon. And then once again, how often should we be reapplying? Because it's the one thing to put it on, but it's the other thing to remember to reapply it.
So the advice is that you apply it in the morning, and then in the midday, you should be reapplying it so that you know that throughout the day, you're going to be protected.
And if you're at the beach, how often should you be, like, you know you're going to be outside?
Yeah. So if you have time, well, you know, because when you're at the beach, you're always, you're not mindful of the time, you're enjoying your day. So if you can remember that you have to reapply it, then you can do it like at least 3 times a day.
Okay. And then if you're going to be in the water, you should reapply more often. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And then if you're going to be working out and sweating, that's the other thing. People don't think about, oh, I'm going to go for a run, and you sweat, and you're basically wiping away all of that sunscreen.
Yes, that's why it's advisable that you have the protective clothing, because you know sometimes the sunscreen can be wipe off your skin because you sweat it off.
And then it's good to have a buddy, because unfortunately I have had so many back sunburns. So there should be somebody on back patrol, right? Just to make sure that you're fully covered, because it's easy to do your chest, your arms, but that back is where you sometimes I see a lot of sunburns, unfortunately. And then let's talk a little bit about the importance of sun safety for people who work outside. And what advice do you have for them, especially if they have construction jobs or they work in agriculture, and they don't necessarily have that opportunity to take as many breaks as you would? So
that's a good question. So we can advise them to have like those hats, the handkerchief on the neck, so that their necks will be protected. Also use sunglasses. There's like sunglasses that has UV protection 100%. Or you can use the wraparound sunglasses if they can do that, and of course they can use long sleeves to protect them from the sun, from the arms and the legs.
And beyond just the UV safety, you also want to prevent heat exhaustion, heat stroke, and so making sure that you're drinking plenty of water. Water is your best friend.
For sure, yeah.
And now we hear a lot about tanning beds and people going to tanning beds. I don't think it's as common as it used to be in the 80s and 90s, but people still use tanning beds. Can you also be impacted by using a tanning bed when it comes to UV damage?
For sure, yeah, yeah. But there are a lot of studies about tanning beds, and some of the studies turns out that it can accelerate skin damage.
Now let's talk about sunburn. So you unfortunately get a sunburn. How should you treat it?
So sunburn, you can take over-the-counter pain medication. Of course, you have to hydrate because hydration can give you skin moisture. It's important to moisturize. And also, if you have medicated cream that can give you relief from the pain, that would be great.
And cooling the skin, so I know I've used aloe and it seems to just do wonders. It makes it not burn as much. So having some aloe lotion is definitely a good thing to have.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Unless your skin is hypersensitive, then don't take a lotion or put in a lotion that that will make your skin have a reaction.
And you should be drinking extra water if you've had a sunburn. Why is it so important to drink extra water than you normally would on a given day with a sunburn?
Yeah, because although it's a superficial burn, it's considered a burn. And when your skin is burned, your system is hypermetabolic. So you're using as much energy for the body to react on those sites of burn. So you need to replenish your body with water.
And why should we not mess with the blisters? I know people think, oh, there's a blister and they want to pick at it or whatever. Why is it important not to mess with a blister?
The skin is our first line of defense for any infection. So if you mess with the blister, you're messing with your line of defense, and you can be susceptible to infection because of that.
Now, when you're applying the sunscreen, I know that you really have to be paying attention. You apply it generously, but you have to pay attention to the hairline. Like when you're putting it on and you're wearing your shirt, to make sure, because any little area will be impacted by the sun.
Yes, for sure.
And when should you seek emergency help for a sunburn?
So when you have sun poisoning, of course, when it's too much, when you feel like it's not only a superficial layer that's burned, and when you have fever, when you have like vomiting, that's a cause of emergency. That means you have sun poisoning.
Okay. And so that sun poisoning, it's a severe sunburn, but it also causes you to feel sick. So it's not just the skin is burning, but you have all of those symptoms that you mentioned.
Yeah, for sure. Severe pain, vomiting, nausea, fever, chills. Those are signs that it's not just a simple sunburn.
And can sun poisoning cause white spots on your skin? Because I know like that damage over time may cause...
Yeah, those are scars.
Okay.
Yeah, over time it can cause scars because it's not only the superficial layer that's affected, but also some deep layer of the skin.
Okay. So now I'm curious. I have to speak to my dermatologist now because I have a couple little white spots. I'm like, what does those mean? And I know hyperpigmentation and things like that. So now I'm going to have to check if that was damage from a sunburn that I didn't realize. Now, skin cancer, you did highlight, and you highlighted the A, B, C, D, E's of skin cancer. Let's go through them again just to make sure that people are really aware of it. So the A is the asymmetry. So the mole will not be the same all the way around.
So it has to be symmetrical. When you see that the borders are asymmetrical, then that's a cause of concern.
Okay. And the shape, I mean the size does not matter. As long as it does not match on both sides, then you really have to be worrying. And then we're talking about the border, as you mentioned. So tell us about the border.
Usually moles are round. If it's irregular, that's a cause of concern.
And then we're talking about the color. So what color should we be looking for?
Usually moles are brown. So if it changes from brown to red to black, then you have to have it checked.
All right. And the D is for diameter. So tell us about that.
So the bigger the mole, then sometimes bigger moles are benign. But if the bigger moles have irregular borders and variegation of colors, then you have to have your primary check it, so that if they can do like a biopsy to check it, if it's benign or cancerous, then you can do something about it right away.
And the last one, the E, was evolution. So if it starts evolving in a negative way with any of those other factors, right?
That's correct, yeah.
So you have to be careful. And you talked about the importance of a self-exam, and that how often should we be doing self-exams when it comes to checking our skin?
Well, you can do it like every 6 months, I guess, or every year. But of course, it's better to have an appointment with your doctor, because they know what they have to see or what to look for.
So that should be at least once a year. You should go and see a dermatologist to do a full head-to-toe check.
For sure, yeah.
And when it comes to dermatologists, obviously it's easy to find them here in the Rio Grande Valley. All you have to do is Google. You'll be able to find a doctor nearby. And if you have anything that concerns you, or you notice anything in one of your self-checks, that's when you want to make sure that you call your doctor. And then again, you should be looking out for the ABCDEs when it comes to any suspicious mole or marking on your skin that you may have. Now let's talk a little bit about protecting ourselves. And so we've talked a few things. So clothing being one of the keys, and making sure that we wear long sleeve shirts and pants wherever possible, right? And they can be a light fabric, so that you're not in this extreme heat that we experience in the summer in the valley. But as long as you're wearing some long sleeves, you want that coverage as much as possible.
That's correct.
And then if you're going to be at the island and you're going to be wearing a bathing suit, obviously, and you're going to be out, but making sure that you have some sort of a cover up or something that you can be putting on when you're not necessarily going to be out in the water, and that sort of thing.
Definitely.
All right, and hats. Hats are really important. I've seen some amazing hats in the Philippines and here, the wide brim hats that you have. So just again, you want an all-around coverage, right?
And also, if you have the sunglasses for your eye protection, that would be great too.
Can you burn your eyes?
You can. So that's why it's advisable that you use sunglasses. Most sunglasses, you can find it in even in Costco. They have those sunglasses that can protect you from UV radiation. It's called UV 400. So it can protect you from UVB and UVA.
And when you're buying those sunglasses, you got to make sure that just because they're expensive doesn't mean they're giving you the full coverage, right? So you want to be looking at the numbers, looking at the information, getting all of the description of the product, so that you make sure that they are in fact UV 400 or whatever you need to make sure that you're protecting yourself. Now, let's talk. You talked about sunscreen as well, and just making sure that we are protecting ourselves with plenty of sunscreen. And then we want to make sure that we have those sunglasses are 100% UV protection. So that's really important. Large lenses are good, so you want as much coverage as possible. And you talked about the wraparound. Why are the wraparound sunglasses such a nice item to use when it comes to sun protection?
Because it protects the sides of your eyes. Not only your eyes, but also the sides of your temple.
Because the UV rays can be coming in at angles. That's not what you think about. You're looking directly, but the rays are coming from all over. So there are areas where, unfortunately, you may still have impact, so to speak. And then let's finalize then now with just our sun safety tips. So do not burn. So that means try to spend as less time as possible in the sun, and if you're going to be in it, take precautions, right?
That's correct, yeah. And
then avoid sun tanning and tanning beds. So I know people love to tan, but it's not necessarily the best thing for you.
Yes.
And that premature aging, that's the one thing right now that'll get me to make sure I never lay out again. Generously apply sunscreen. So the more, the merrier, right?
And that's correct.
The happier your skin will be.
And don't forget, not only to apply it in the morning, but if you have time in the midday, do apply it. And you have to apply it 30 minutes before you go out and the sun.
And then wear protective clothing, so that means those long sleeve shirts, pants, wide brim hats, and sunglasses whenever possible. I know sometimes I forget my sunglasses in the car, so it may be a good idea to keep an extra set in your car that you can just have an emergency pair just in case, but always making sure that you're doing everything you can when it comes to your clothing, right?
That's correct.
And then seek shade. I know it is hard sometimes, especially if you're at the island. There aren't a lot of shaded areas, but try to find shade or bring the shade with you. As you mentioned, an umbrella or whatever you can bring to really protect yourself. Use extra caution near water and sand, and that includes snow. If you happen to go up north or Alaska or whatever it may be, snow as well. So just making sure that you use precaution. And lastly, check the UV index.
Yes.
The UV index is going to be your best friend, right?
That's correct, yeah.
It will tell
Plus,
you.
the sunscreen.
And sunscreen and the UV index, knowing exactly what to do. Well, we appreciate your time, Dr. Berry. Thank you so much for joining us. This has all been very enlightening, and I hope that we will prevent sunburns, at least this summer. People will be mindful of it this year.
It's a pleasure to have me here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
All right. And that officially concludes our webinar. Thank you for joining us. We hope you will continue to prioritize your health and the health of your loved ones. We hope to see you for our next installment of this Let's Talk Your Health series on Tuesday, August 19th from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. when we discuss joint health. Like and follow the South Texas Health System Facebook page for more details on our future Let's Talk webinars. And if you'd like to see our previous seminars, all you have to do is visit sthsletstalk.com. Until our next seminar, stay healthy, stay safe, and please continue to prioritize your health. At South Texas Health System, the health of you and your family has always been our top priority. It inspires us to be among the nation's healthcare leaders. We're proud to be home to the Valley's first and only freestanding children's hospital, the state's first dedicated heart hospital, the first behavioral health facility with private inpatient treatment, and Hidalgo County's first level 2 trauma center. And we continue to transform healthcare, investing in advanced technologies and innovations to help you heal faster. It's that commitment to your health that has allowed South Texas Health System to build a reputation for excellence across 11 facilities, earning recognition for patient safety, cardiac care, robotic surgery, women's health, stroke care, and more. With our integrated network of nationally recognized facilities, freestanding emergency departments, physician practices, and outpatient centers, we are where you are, providing compassionate care and comprehensive services for you and your family.